There's never been a better time to have SiriusXM. With even more exclusive content, with over 150 channels in your vehicle, including the widest, deepest variety of music, ad-free. Root for your team. Get news. Listen to whatever makes you laugh. And hear all about your favorite stars. Your Platinum Plan offer includes more than ever before to enjoy online, on your phone, or at home. Create your own ad-free personalized stations powered by Pandora. Hear ad-free extra channels filled with music and enjoy favorite shows with SiriusXM Video. Thousands of hours of shows and performances on demand. What you love is on now.
This month on CMA Networks, we are focusing on the upper echelon of audio. We're talking high-end, we're talking audiophile grade. But if you want to talk about the ultimate in resolution and technology, man, this is the show for you, because we are all about Alpine and F1 #1 status today. We've got product specialist Dan Greenwood in the studio to tell us all about it. This is CMA Connected, presented by SiriusXM Alpine, and it starts now. What's going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to another CMA Connected, presented by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu, and today we are going to be focusing on some super, and I mean super, high-tech stuff, courtesy of the team at Alpine, world-renowned for their top-of-the-line system called F#1 status. They recently came up with it. Today we're going to give you all the scoop, all the details. We are going to geek out, and I mean geek out hard. So if you're into that kind of stuff, stay tuned. If you're not so much into this stuff, pay attention anyways. This is stuff you should know as a dealer. Now, not only are we going to be talking about the upper echelon stuff in the F#1 status, but we're going to talk a little bit about how that technology and how those features have trickled down into a recent line, also newly launched by Alpine, called Status. So without further ado, let's bring my co-pilot that's navigating the ship today to the studio. His name is Dan Greenwood, and he's a brand specialist at Alpine. What's going on, Dan?
How you doing today?
Pretty excited. This whole month, I'm kind of more extra excited than I usually am, because this is really cool stuff that I get to talk about every single day. Every day, we're starting off at the top of the catalog, and it's kind of fun. I'm not going to lie. And we're, when we're getting ready for this show, I mean, Alpine has a catalog, and we're not only going to the top, we're almost going off the page when it comes to like the F#1 status, aren't we?
Absolutely. It's pretty awesome.
We're going to learn a little bit about the history. I don't want to give it all away, but I want to kind of get your insight on this before we get started real quick. There's a lot of commentary, praise. Some people are like shock and awe over like, why is Alpine doing something so, over the top? What's your take on it? And, why Alpine and why F#1 status?
Well, as you know, I mean, Alpine has a history with F#1 status, and it's always been, this is the best of what technology at that time has for car. And with recent advancements in high resolution audio, we felt it was the right time to bring F#1 status back. And as we'll talk about a little further into the presentation, it's also about the status, which is kind of more for the masses, and you guys will learn why here pretty soon.
I think that key word, you just said it right there, Dan, resolution is going to be a consistent theme in today's conversation.
Yes.
Alpine has done some incredible advancement in technology. I myself was just flipping through the presentation, and I was like, wow, okay, what is this all about? Because I've never, and I mean never, seen some of this componentry that Alpine has now incorporated into these products. So very interesting indeed to learn about that. So you broke it. So real quick breakout. We're going to start with F#1 status, an in-depth, a review of that. And then you and I are kind of break down status, which honestly, from a technology value standpoint, I think is hitting a home run. Does that sound like a plan?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Sounds like a great plan.
All right, let's get to it. We'll set you up. Here we go. Alpine, F#1 status. Go ahead, Dan.
Thanks, Ben. So we're going to start off with Let's see, get it up on the screen here. There we go. So we have the F1 status. This is the 3rd generation F1 status system, and I want to clarify, this is a full system. So whenever you purchase this, it is everything you see here. Obviously, you're only seeing one tweeter, one mid, but obviously it does come as a pair. But it is a full system, and the reason why is because it was all designed to work as one system together. So, and we're going to break that down as to why, and you guys will understand as we go a little further. So, starting off with a little bit of the history, you guys have probably heard of F1 status before. I know I have. I was kind of drooling over it back in the day, and I could never afford it, and still can't, unfortunately, but that's okay. But F1 status has always been the pinnacle of what technology can offer at that time. So it's always been the best components imaginable, the best engineering and know-how from Alpine, as well as tuning capabilities in the vehicle. Because as we all know, the vehicle is the worst place imaginable for sound, and we're trying to get it to sound as close to a home experience or a live experience as possible. And that's where all the F1 status. That's kind of what it's all about. So. The other thing you'll see, and as you've already saw in the pictures, is kind of some of the design heritage that Alpine has been known for forever. Actually, the 6 green chiclet keys are the main standout here, and those have been around since 1978. And as you can see, they've been in all 3 generations of F1 status, all the way back to 2001, and then 2004 with DVD audio, and now we launched in 2021 with high-res audio. So. Go on. So there we go. So why now? Just like we spoke about a little earlier, it's because the technology now has gotten to a point to where high resolution audio has gotten really good, and also we're really pushing the envelope with how much resolution can there be, because CD was always kind of the standard for a long time, and then now we have high res, and unfortunately it kind of went backwards with streaming audio and MP3, but high-res audio, especially with streaming, has really gotten popular lately, and more for the masses, and it's been way more accessible. So we want to have a system that can reproduce all the music as best as possible in your vehicle. So I'm going to give you guys a little bit of, we'll call this a visual aid, to give you guys a kind of a sense of scale of the resolution that we're going to be talking about today. So we're all well aware 1080p full HD TVs, right? They've been around for a long time now. And of course, now 4K has gotten pretty popular, and that's 4 times the resolution, right? Now, 8K is something that you're starting to see. That is now 16 times the resolution of 1080p, which is pretty crazy to me. But that is 16 times of what is considered full HD, right? So just kind of keep that value in your mind, okay? So like I said before, high-res audio, it's been a big keyword lately. It's been a buzzword. A lot of people are getting into it. And like I said, a lot of streaming services are now offering it, as well as, of course, you can download the files. That's been around for a long time. So you can purchase the music through like hdtracks.com, for example. And that's how all the music that you play on the F1 status system, that's where you're going to get from. There's a couple different ways we can play them, and we'll get to that here in a sec. So F1 status has always been the pinnacle of what music medium is at the time. So, for example, back in the first generation, CD was the standard for sound, and so we made our CD player and transport and everything to be the best CD player possible. Now you go forward a few years to the second generation F1 status. DVD audio was kind of starting to come out. Unfortunately, it never really took off. I was a big fan of it. I don't know about you guys, but I thought it was pretty cool. And that was the best audio medium at the time. So that's what we built the second gen F1 status system around. Now we're going to take a little bit of a break, but now at Gen 3, it's obviously about high-res audio. So that's what this thing is built for. It's built to play high-res audio files. All right. So we're going to give you guys a little bit of a background on like resolution of audio music files. So like we said before, the golden standard for a long time was compact disc. So that's 1,411 kilobits per second, which sounds great. We've all heard CDs, we've all owned CDs, we've all listened to them. They sound fantastic. But high-res audio is going to give you more information in the audible spectrum. So what we're going to consider standard high-res audio, which is 24-bit 96K. A lot of your streaming services, like Tidal, for example, they're going to offer 24-bit 96K music streaming. And at that point, you're going to have 4,608 kilobits per second. So you're going to have much higher resolution than what CD is, right? Let's go forward to what we consider high-spec high-res. 24,192. That's so now you're at 9,216, or as I like to say, you're 6.5 times the resolution of CD. So this is kind of like going to 4K or 1080p, but a little bit better. All right. Now we're going to go to the resolution of what F1 status is, and that's 32-bit 384K. So that's 24,576 kilobits per second. That is a lot of data, a lot of information. Also, really large file sizes for music. But we're at 17.5 times the resolution of CD. So that's kind of like going to that above that 8K panel. That was 16 times the resolution of 1080p. So it kind of gives you a sense of scale of how much information is in there to give you the best possible recording quality in a music file. So this kind of just shows you all broken down the evolution of the resolution of audio. And of course you also have the degression. So your standard streaming like Pandora or Spotify, they're going to be highly compressed, not even below CD quality. So this system is really maximized and really shines when you play high-res audio files. So talking about a conventional audio system, and this is showing, like, let's say, assuming you have like a digital connection between your head unit and your processor, like an optical cable or digital coax. You'll have your music file. It could be on an external DAP or a digital audio player or USB drive, and you're going to obviously have ones and zeros that look like this, like a square wave. And then that thing is going to go to the audio processor, and it's going to get processed and come out as an analog signal going to your amplifier, right? But right here, in between the head unit and the audio processor, there's going to be a little bit of difference in time between these two units, because every digital component has a thing called a clock, a master clock. Now, if they're out of sync of each other, which they can be, you'll get what's called jitter, and that's something when you get into high-res audio, and especially a really, really high-res audio files like the 32-bit 384K. Jitter is a problem, and so what do we do to fix that? Well, we're going to have a master clock management system, which we're going to get into, but this kind of also shows you here, jitter is just the timing of the audio files being a little off of each other. So to your ears, it would sound a little bit like distortion. Now, normally this isn't relevant until you're going to get into really high-res audio files. So like I said, how do we fix that? Well, that's where we have this master clock management system. Now, this is also the first time this has ever been implemented in anything for car audio. This is something that's been around for home audio for a little while now. It's also a very, very high-end component normally, especially for home. But what this is a two-way data communication between the head unit and the processor. So anything that's in the digital realm, it's going to keep it in sync in time with each other. That way, whenever it goes through its DA conversion to the amplifier, it has all the bits have been perfectly synced up, and you have no jitter. So that's kind of what we're showing here. Now, the master clock management system is something really cool, and we're going to go into that a little bit in depth here in a second. But we're going to start showing like how do you get those music files playing through the system. Well, the system actually comes with an Astle and Kern digital audio player, or we call the DAP. This is something we actually worked with them to develop this. So what's cool about this is you have all your high-res audio files on here, and you can load, and you can take it with you on the go to use the awesome DAC that's in here with your headphones. And whenever you plug this into the F1 status system, it is kind of a USB drive. And there's a secondary USB port as well, so you can just use a flash drive for other files if you want, or a USB hard drive, a solid-state drive, whatever. So a little background on the DAP here. Some of the specs, it is So for those who want to know what kind of DAC is in here and everything, here you go. I won't go too far into this, but one thing I will note is it actually does also work with the Tidal app. So for those that have Tidal accounts, you can actually set up Tidal playlists on here, maybe set them in offline mode or fire up a hotspot. You can actually use the Tidal app on here through your F1 status system, so you can stream high-res files this way and not have any degradation of, going through a phone or anything like that. It's going to be bit for bit perfect. So pretty cool way of another way to have music streaming on your F1 status system. And that's going to go plug right into the 7909. I love that we call this the 7909, the HDS 7909. This is a head unit. What's cool about this is it's actually not a full DEN chassis. It is a full DEN faceplate though. And it does come with mounting hardware so you can flush it in. And then it has a hideaway box. And all the brain is in here. So obviously what people have loved about this, and I do, is it has the 6 green chiclet keys. If people want it to be blue, it also does light up blue as well. And of course, all the navigation of all the music files, everything, they're all done right here on screen. You don't have to have anything external. It's all very simple, and you just navigate right on screen. So that in the black box, that's where all your connections will be made. We'll have, I'm going to talk more about the A2B data bus connection here in just a moment. But like I said, your 2 USB ports and your controller just plug right in. It's a little hideaway box, and you just tuck it wherever you need to put it. And then as far as the connections up from the DAP to the DSP, like I said, your USB connections, you have your brain, and then your modified A2B bus data connection between the two. And now the reason why we're using an A2B bus data connection is because that master clock management system and the resolution of the full system. So in order to get 32-bit 384K sample rate, you need to have a cable that it can handle a very, very fast data transmission that's also very sturdy and reliable. Now, because of the master clock management system syncing time between the head unit and the DSP, we also need to have a two-way communication. That way, it'll go back and forth, and they know that both components are in perfect sync with each other. So that's why we're using that bus. Now, if you guys are curious, hey, why didn't you use optical? It's very simple. Optical is actually a very old technology. It was developed in 1983. A little history lesson for you guys, and it was meant for CD player connectivity to external DACs. Ben, you told me that's how you had one back in the early 90s. And of course, it was used with DVD. It was upgraded to get PCM audio, and it does do some high-res spec, but the highest that it can handle is 24-bit 96K. So with our A2B bus cable that we developed, it actually has 5 times the resolution and data bandwidth capabilities, and also as a two-way communication over Toslink. So if you guys are curious, that's why we're not using optical. And then now let's talk about the components a little bit, and we're going to get into the master clock, which is a really cool feature of the H900. So this is our H900 is our DSP and our main brain of the whole F1 status system. It is an impressive piece of hardware. As you can see in the little shot of the circuit board, it actually has a left and right bias power output stage. So this thing is fully set up for 4 outputs on either side. It is meant for 3-way active plus sub, and they're broken down to left and right for better channel separation. And then in the middle here, you're going to see the quartz crystals, and it's actually what's called an oven. And the reason why we have an oven is because these crystals actually operate at a certain temperature. And that I can't remember the exact temperature. It's around 60 degrees Celsius. But whenever you have that at that constant temperature, then the frequency that they oscillate at, which will keep the clock in time, is perfect synced all the time. So a lot of other components will have just standard quartz crystals. They don't need to be in a temperature controlled environment. But the crystal, what we call the Duculon, they're much more accurate, but they do require a certain temperature. Luckily for us in the South, our cars don't even get quite as hot as what these things need, so it really works just fine. And then, of course, the top part here is the main circuit board of the DSP. We'll talk more about that here in a second. But just like I was talking about before, These quartz crystals are 10 times more precise than standard quartz crystals. They need to operate at a certain frequency, at a certain temperature. So that's why we have it in the little, what we call the oven, and right in the middle of the DSP. And one thing that is also very cool is whenever it's installed, it also does have a copper shield chassis around it to help with any possible EMI interference. So the top part of the board, here's another little shot of it. This is our main DSP chip. It actually has 4 Griffin UL DSP processors. Each of them are 64-bit at 1 gigahertz. They are very, very fast, very, very precise. And the reason why is because of the resolution that we're operating at. So something I really want to drive home is there is no downsampling whatsoever in this system. Everything operates at 32-bit, 384K sampling rate. Even if you're playing a file that's below that, it will automatically upconvert it to that resolution. So no matter what file you're playing, you're not missing out on anything. It is not going to downsample whatsoever. Another thing I want to point out here is most DSPs are going to be a 31-band EQ, either graphic or parametric, but in ours it's actually a 34-band parametric EQ, and the reason why is because we actually have a few bands above 20K. So for those that really want to get that super ambient, super high frequencies that you're not even hearing, but you just kind of get a sense of, it actually allows you to tune those as well. And another piece of the puzzle that I think is super cool are the amplifiers. So they're both 4-channel amplifiers, one for left, one for right. And the subwoofers are also powered off of these amplifiers as well. So the F900 is also a Class D amplifier. And this is something that people have always said forever. Oh, Class D doesn't sound as good as AB and all that. I was one of those guys forever. After hearing one of these, that argument's invalid now. Class D has come a long way, and these amplifiers are super powerful, super transparent. They're unbelievable. They also have no noise floor whatsoever. It's remarkable. I've had a lot of people get a demo of our F1 Status Tesla that we have, and I told them after listening that those are Class D amps, and they didn't believe me. They are absolutely phenomenal. And a little bit of specs on them. So the connections between the DSP and the amplifiers are actually a balanced XLR connection at 8 volts. So that is the only, other than the speaker connections, this is the only analog connection in the system. And we wanted to make sure it was the best possible connection we can get. And of course, XLR with a balanced signal is the best way to go with all the noise rejection, as well as the nice high voltage. It just makes sense to use this connection. So that's another reason why this system is all one self-contained piece, because everything is meant to work with each other, even the amplifier's connection to the DSP. The other thing that's a little notable inside of the DSP is, in the amplifiers, this is actually one of the boards out of an amplifier, is our independent power supplies. So we actually have a power supply on the positive connection and the negative connection, and that results in much more stable and low distortion power. So everything we can, with Class D, it's all about the stable power and filtration and everything to make it perform as best it can. This is one of the things we're doing to help with that as well. And what we ended up with is amazing specs off of this thing. I know it's real hard to see this, but the frequency response range is actually going up to, let me see, I gotta get a bigger screen here. It's actually not showing on here, but within plus or minus 3 dB, the frequency range of this amplifier is 4 hertz up to 100,000 hertz, and it's 10 to 50,000 at 1 dB, which is crazy. And like I said, this is a Class D amplifier with that kind of range. It's pretty remarkable, as well as the THD. At 10 watts, you're 0.005% THD. It's like I said, and it's a 115 dB signal to noise ratio as well. So it's a remarkable amplifier. And I know we rated at 100 watts. If you guys are familiar with a lot of Alpine amplifiers, we really underrate a lot of our power. This is probably the most underrated power amplifier that we've ever made. It's remarkable. No, completing out the system are the speakers. I'm not going to dive too far into these, just kind of let you guys be aware of what it comes with. So we're going to have an 11-inch subwoofer. And the reason why we did an 11 is because it kind of gives you the best of both worlds of a 10 and a 12. And it's a very beautifully made sub, and it actually excels in a small sealed enclosure as well. And then, of course, you're going to have a 6.5-inch mid, a mid bass, a 3-inch mid, and then a ring radiator tweeter. And all the drivers are actually timbre matched. So what that means, they actually all have the same material on the cones, which is what we call CFRP, or carbon fiber reinforced plastics. And even the tweeters cone actually is made of the same material all the way down through the sub. So you have a nice timbre match across all the speakers. So whenever tuning, the blend between the speakers is real seamless, and even out of the box before doing any EQ or anything, the system is exceptionally good. Just with the basic default settings, when you hook everything up, it's pretty remarkable. So giving you guys another shot of the speakers. They're all face plug. I might, except for the ring rated tweeter, but they are face plug mids. Of course, they have our patented hammer surround, which is like a modified folded accordion surround. Even the subwoofer has it as well, as you can see right here. We only rate the thing at 400 watts RMS. Now you guys might be saying, well, hey Dan, that amplifier is only a 100-watt channel. Well, there's the dual 4-ohm, so if you do this, you can actually run channel from each amplifier. So you have left and right independent. You just voltage match them on your scope, and actually the sub excels with only 200 watts. It was designed to work well with these amplifiers. So and like I said, that 200 watts is a very conservative estimate. Now, one thing you can do with this system, since it does come with one sub, is you can add a second sub if you want to. It does cost more, but when you do that, then you just run one sub paralleled off of one channel of the amp, and then that actually brings that amp down to 2 ohm, and you're actually the same power as if you're running one. So I would say go with 2 subs if you can. We've played around with 1 and 2. 1 is great, 2 is always better because people like bass. I like bass, so there you go. So showing the full system diagram. So like I said before, it's all USB and a data connection up in the front. Now, something else that the DSP also does have as far as connections is it does have a 2-channel RCA or 6-channel speaker level in. So it's very minimal, but it can be integrated into factory systems. Or let's say you have like one of our Halo units, like an ILX F509, for example. You can actually have that also be a source into the DSP. That way, you're not only using this. So like the 7909 head unit that it comes with, it's more of just a media player. So that can be like a companion piece to a much bigger system. But to get the best performance out of everything, we do recommend playing your music files right off the 7909. But you do have other input on the DSP just in case. And then of course you have your XLR connections going right to your 2 amplifiers and then out to your speakers. And that is pretty much the F1 status system in a nutshell. I know you'll have some questions, Ben, and that's totally cool. But we're going to bring Ben back in here in just a second. But what's so that Ben already kind of alluded to was status. So we've had the F1 status system, and it's the highest resolution audio system for a car in the world. Now, it's not for everybody. It's a very high-tiered, very high-priced equipment, but that's where status comes in. So while developing our F1 status system, we also worked on another line for what I call the working man's F1 status system called Status. And it's pretty cool. And I think, Ben, you have a video you wanted to play, right?
I do, and I'm going to reserve my questions from your presentation here. That was, of course, very much in detail, very intriguing. But you're right, we do have a video, and this is very important for dealers to understand that the technology that Alpine has developed in this F1 status literally is trickling down into a brand new series that Dan is talking about. It's called Status. We have Eric Brooks from Alpine who created a video. We're going to start with that so you get an overview of what Status is all about, and then we're going to come back and we're going to get Dan to break that down a little bit more for us. Here's the video.
What I want to talk to you about now is Alpine Status. This line of product gets a lot of its what the hell am I trying to say? Hi everyone, I'm Eric Brooks with Alpine Electronics, and today I want to talk to you about a product called Alpine Status. This is a brand new product coming to market that we're very, very excited about. But before we talk about Alpine Status, I want to tell you where it came from. And really where Alpine Status got its DNA, where it came into its inception, is from Alpine F#1 Status, which is really the pinnacle of car audio. Alpine F#1 Status is the highest resolution playback product available for a vehicle. It has the capability of playing back resolutions of up to 384 kilohertz, 32-bit. So this is the only system available that can do that. So Alpine F#1 Status is only available as a complete system. It has a head unit, it has a DSP, it has amplifiers, speakers, and subwoofer that comes in the system, right? So it is one complete system available to the market, and that's Alpine F#1 Status. Now, where Alpine Status comes into play is all of the things that we learned when developing Alpine F#1 Status. So many of those we were able to take from this ultra high resolution, this full spec high resolution product, and bring it into Alpine Status, right? This is a system that consists of speakers and amps and a head unit and a DSP amplifier that are all available either a la carte or as a system, as you choose. So those are the differences between Alpine F#1 Status and Alpine Status. So let's take a couple of minutes and check it out. It all starts with our Alpine Status head unit. This is a high resolution media controller. It can take all of your digital media and your high resolution sources and manage those and send it out to the rest of the system. It has a flexible array of inputs and outputs, so it can work with any system. From there, we go to our DSP amplifier. So this thing is really special. It can be used as a standalone DSP where it has all of your crossovers and your time correction and your equalization capabilities. It also has matrix summing, so you can tell what input to go to what output. It also has an internal amplifier of 8 by 50 watts and 4 by 80 watts. So it has a staggered power so that you can run an entire system in your car right out of the amplifier in this DSP. From that DSP, we go out to our speaker system. So we have two-way and three-way components available with a lot of technologies that trickle down from Alpine F#1 Status. From the cone materials, which are our carbon composite cone, to this great surround called the double gathered surround here that gives great control over the speaker as it's moving in and out, to all of the tooling and the materials used in the speaker itself that really gets its trickle down from Alpine F#1 Status. So whether it's the head unit and the management of that high resolution content, to the DSP, the flexibility and the great sound that it presents, to these speakers, all of this stuff trickles down from Alpine F#1 Status. It's all available a la carte, or you can purchase it as a system. Alpine Status is a great way to get high resolution playback in your vehicle. So there you have it, the Alpine Status line of product, which trickles down from that Alpine F#1 Status. So don't get them confused. They look a lot alike. They all sound really great, but Alpine Status is its own special category of product. Thanks for joining me as we took this inside look at this very special product called Alpine Status. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you, Eric, for that video. Now, out of the gate, I have to make a comment before we start. Like, talk about trickle-down DNA down to the looks. Like, if you flash that, what you have there right in front, man,
Yep.
obviously
Yep.
related. Obviously. It looks high-end, and when I first heard that, this series was imminent, I was quite excited because, it's, how can I say, F#1 Status is so unattainable for many of us enthusiasts, obviously, but this makes it feel like, oh, I have a crack at this. Maybe I could find a way to explain to my wife how to buy this. And that makes me feel good. That's it. That's all I want to start with.
Yep. That, like I said, it's the you know the old saying, sell race on Sunday, sell on Monday. This is your sell on Monday, right? So it's pretty awesome. And yeah, you said, I've had a lot of people, I showed them the picture and they're like, oh yeah, it's F1 Status. I'm like, no, it's not. It's yeah.
And the last thing that really is very important to understand, and Eric did say it there, F#1 Status is only available as a complete system.
Yep.
Not a la carte. You can't just order the head unit. Don't bother emailing Alpine for it. You want to
Yep.
be F1 status, it's the whole shebang, period. However, Alpine status is available a la carte as individual components. So if you choose, let's say you're interested in that source unit that we're about to cover, or you're interested in the, the multi-channel DSP integrated amplifier, or maybe it's the front stage speakers, yeah, you can do that. Now, with having that said, Dan, please take us through the line.
Thank you. So, as we've already kind of touched on, it's high-res sound made accessible. It's not going to be quite the spec of F1 status, but it's still going to be super high-res. So the whole system is 24-bit 192K, which is still awesome. And honestly, there's a lot more music in that resolution anyway. So, no one's really, I can't complain about that. And just like we've already talked about, trickle down. So right off the bat, first thing you notice is the design characteristics of status is definitely kind of modeled off of F1 status, and that was by design. We did work on these side by side, and you're going to see a lot of the kind of similar character, a lot of similar technology and stuff kind of trickle down through the line, as well as similar materials being used, like on the speakers, as well as some features in the processor and everything. So it's pretty exciting. And here's a little side-by-side comparison, just kind of comparing F1 status to status. And first off is the resolution. Like I said before, it's 24:192 on status. Now there is still an oscillating clock generator, because like I said, every kind of digital component, anything, still has to keep time. So we talked about the crystal oscillating clock generator still being a real high-end piece, and whatever the master clock system inside of the F1 status system is going to be 10 times the resolution, but we still have the really nice system inside of the status DSP. Of course, you're going to have all your, we talk about 0.9 millimeter step resolution and delay on F1 status DSP, which I think is more than enough resolution. 7 millimeter on status, I think, that's, I'm American. That's like that, right?
It's about that. You're pretty precise with that.
Yeah, it's about right there. Yep. Yeah. I don't know what that is in freedom units, but it's pretty small. So, but anyway, like I said, a lot of similar characteristics. It's just more, everything you really need. So, starting breaking it down. You and I have talked about this a little bit in the past, but the HDS 990 is a pretty exciting piece. So this is another high-res media player head unit. That's a head unit by itself. Now, when I say, I'm going to use the phrase head unit a little loosely here, because this is more of a media player. Just like the F1 status system, it is designed to play media files. Now, this one has a little more flexible. It does also feature Bluetooth, so you can do Bluetooth streaming, and it does have aptX HD and LDAC for those who have those devices that support high-res streaming. You do have that here. It does not do hands-free. It doesn't have a radio,
and it doesn't have Apple CarPlay.
And it does not have CarPlay. It is a very small screen.
That's right.
So it is a height of a single DIMM, but not nearly as wide. So it is meant for more custom applications, as well as a hideaway brain, just similar to the F1 status head unit. But you're going to be it's going to be capable of a 24:192. It does have digital optical and digital coax outputs, as well as your analog pre-outs. So as well as a 4-channel 25 watt by 4 amplifier built in case you're running it as a normal head unit, like in a classic car that you don't want to cut the dash on or anything like that. So it's a very flexible piece. But like I said, and this also can be used as more of like a companion piece in a system. So you can have this go to the digital input of the DSP, and then have your factory system or aftermarket screen or anything as the other input source on the DSP on the analog source, and go back and forth between the two.
If I can make a comment here, Dan, I think what you're going to see with this unit is going to be either somebody who already has an aftermarket source unit, let's say it's a Halo, something big screen, big interaction, Apple CarPlay, all that, and be able to add this as a separate source with just the the control unit somewhere discreetly installed in the hideaway box, or like you said, integrated into an existing, like an OEM integration scenario whereby you're upgrading everything but the source unit because you're happy with this integrated screen that you have in your vehicle. And this could be like a hideaway. And again, that little control could be mounted somewhere discreetly.
Exactly. Yeah. And especially for those that keep a factory screen, Obviously, it's not going to sound as good as what this thing can do. So, to having this as your companion piece for when you want to play your music files, it's going to sound really good. So, another little tidbit for those. I know we're gonna get a little nerdy here. The digital outputs on this are actually variable volume. So, if you guys are curious, the volume on here will control the volume of the digital outputs as well.
Which honestly is a big deal.
It is a big deal. That's why
It
I
is a
bring
big
it up.
deal. Yeah, absolutely a big
Yep.
deal. Something to note.
Yep. So another really cool piece of the puzzle is the HDP D90. So that, like Eric was talking about before, this is the DSP amplifier. I call this the Swiss Army knife DSP because it does everything. It's it is a 12 channel. I'm sorry. We'll start with the input stage. It has 2-channel RCA in, just so if you need to for maintaining like an aftermarket head unit, you get your full range signal in that way. But for integration purposes, you're going to have 12-channel high-level input as well. The optical connection, of course, you're going to have optical and digital coax connections as well as Bluetooth. You can do Bluetooth directly to this as well. As far as your output stage, you're going to have 10-channel RCA as well as 12-channel high level, so those are your amplified outputs. So 8 of these channels will mirror some of the output channels. Then you're going to have 2 dedicated pre-outs, so that it is total 14 channels of DSP. So technically, you can actually run three-way front and rear off of this internal amplifier and still have 2 pre-outs for your subwoofer. So there's a lot of flexibility there. Of course, you have your matrix input summing. It is 32-bit 192K internal sample rate, so it totally handles 24 192, no problem. Of course, this in the other one spec that I like to point out. So we talked about F1 status amplifiers and everything being 115 dB signal noise ratio, which is super high. Status is 110, which it's hard to hear the difference between 110 and 115. If you can hear the difference, then bravo, well done. But 110 is pretty awesome. So
I want to, you got to have bionic ears. Let's be honest. But
yeah, exactly.
The 2 things I will mention about this specific unit. First of all, if you want in depth on this one, I encourage you check out cmanetworks.com. Go to Alpine. Dan and I did one exclusive DSP session workshop just on this, like the whole setup and the GUI and all that. And I want to mention, if you haven't seen this new GUI yet, I'll say it again, probably the sexiest, most pleasant looking GUI out there for DSP control. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it. Yeah. But you beat me to it. I was going to highly encourage, if you guys want to know more about this, we talk about it for a while. So yeah, but it's a very, very awesome piece. And the other thing that is cool is when you pair this with the head unit, there actually is a connection included between the two, so you can actually use the display on the head unit as the controller for the DSP. So you don't have to have an external controller, like another external controller in master volume if you don't want to. You don't need it because it will control. This will also control the DSP, as well as recall presets and the basic stuff that you need. But it does simplify things. So pretty awesome. I'm a big fan. And then amplifiers. So this is something a little new. These are going to be coming soon, very soon. Actually,
how like soon as in you have them on your desk soon? Oh, let's go here. Let's look. Ooh, okay.
Ooh.
Let's zoom in on Dan here for a second. What is that he's holding?
Let me make us look better covering my face. There you go.
Look at that.
Look at that.
Oh man.
So those of you familiar with our X series amplifiers, these are kind of be the replacement of them. They actually use all the same connectors. It's the same size as X series, but all new refreshed design as well as internal layout.
Obviously, I'm guessing that's an LED in the middle.
That is the LED.
Okay.
It actually is just like the LED of the F1 status.
Wait, show us the other side. Show us the other side. Hold on. Go back. Sorry, let's go back to Dan for a second. Let's do a full 360. Yep. Yeah.
Well, you're not missing much on the other side.
Doesn't matter. No, I just want to see it. It's my first time looking at it.
Yeah.
All
it's
right.
a black rectangle, which I love black rectangles.
Are these shipping?
They are shipping soon.
Okay, shipping soon. All right.
Shipping soon. I don't have a date right now.
All right.
So,
but it's a good sign.
I had to tease you guys a little bit there. So pretty awesome. There'll be 3 flavors. So you're gonna have a 4-channel, a 5-channel, and a mono. And You're welcome for the built-in fuses, Ken.
Yeah.
So they're yeah, and now if you guys are familiar, like I said, familiar with the X series amps, these are kind of a replacement of them. One thing you might notice right off the bat is the power ratings, at least what we spec them out to be, might be a little lower than what you're used to. I can tell you from the burst sheet on this, it is not lower. Don't worry, it's just a number. So
Yeah.
and
Box
these actually
numbers,
are
box numbers.
Yep. And these are going to have, like I said, they're going to be similar power to what you're used to, but they're going to have a little lower noise floor, a little higher signal noise ratio, and everything. And I think an aesthetically much prettier design than what was going out. So.
I have to agree. This is really a nice departure from a design standpoint.
Yep. And then just like we talked about before, if you could put this next to the F1 Status amp, it's almost identical. It is a little smaller. The F1 Status amps are a little bit bigger.
Sure.
But pretty
Sorry,
awesome.
The model that you were holding up was which model, Dan?
That is the M80, so that's the mono block.
That's the monoblock. And from a chassis size standpoint, let's say the 5 channel, is it much bigger?
They're all the same size.
Oh, it's the same chassis. Oh, that's good for
install. They're all
too.
the same chassis. Yep.
Okay.
All the same plugs and everything. So
nice.
Yep.
So hold on, except for the multi-channel, like the big DSP, that's a bigger chassis.
Well, the okay. So I'm sorry for like the DSP amp.
Yes.
You mean?
Yes.
Yeah. That's different. That's different. Yeah. The speaker plugs, which you can, those are normal, just like X series. So
gotcha. And remind me again, does the DSP multi-channel one have outputs? It does, right?
I'm sorry. Say it one more time.
Is there any processed outputs out of that one?
Yes. Yeah.
So you
actually,
could go to a
there's
monoblock,
10
for
total.
example.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can actually run it as the dedicated just DSP or an amplifier and DSP. You can figure it whatever way you want.
Very flexible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. The first 4 outputs and the last 4 outputs of the internal amp are also pre-outs, as well as 2 extras.
There we are.
13 and 14. Yep.
Nice.
And Ken, no more plastic feet. So, yep. Speakers. Another really exciting part here. So, just like the F1 Status system, Status is going to offer a 3-way speaker set as well as 2-way. So the differences you'll see is the 653 is a 3-way. That's actually what's pictured here. It comes a full set with passive crossovers. You don't need to use those passive crossovers, obviously, if you're going with the DSP. At least you shouldn't be. But they're there in case you need them. And the 2-way components are going to be very similar. They're just going to not have that 3-inch mid. So this set does come with a 6.5-inch mid bass, a 3-inch mid. It's actually closer to about 3.5. And the tweeter is actually a little larger in this set. It's actually a 2-inch tweeter. And the way that these are designed is they're actually all face plugged drivers, even the tweeter. So they're all very wide band, all the same cone material, the CFRP, just very similar to what you saw on F1 Status. So the timbre across these drivers is real similar. So they all blend together very nicely.
So this is different from any existing cone material that was in the previous or existing catalog, because it doesn't look like anything.
It's similar. We've had CFRP for a little while in like the R series, even the S series. This is another revision of it. It's actually common across a lot of our drivers.
Very nice.
So, and yes, grills do come with these, and they do look really good. Unfortunately, I don't have a picture of one here, but actually, no, you can see it right there on the speakers on the right.
Yep.
So they actually don't add any extra diameter to the
I have to say,
as well.
Even the crossovers look like the amps, which is kind of neat.
Yeah, they actually look really good.
Yeah.
Don't use them, but they look great.
Don't use them, but they look cool.
Yes. And then now those are not going to be the only 2, and also the tweeters are kind of large. So there's also going to be another variation. Now the first 2 we just talked about, those are shipping. These on this page are not quite shipping yet, but they are coming very soon. So we're going to have a 6.5-inch coax, as well as the same 2-way and 3-way system, but just going to have an S at the end. The S means it's going to come with what we call like an OEM fit tweeter. It's still the same design and everything as the other speakers, but this little bucket that it's in can actually be taken apart and broken down. And then the tweeter, when it's out of the enclosure, is actually the standard size of like a current R series tweeter. So for a lot of factory applications where you have very limited space, this is the set you want to go with if you don't want to build anything out. So you're going to have some options there. as far as, depending on what the install is, what kind of speaker set you want to go with. Yep. And and like I said, that would be a 2-way and 3-way version of both kinds. The tweeter is going to be the difference between the two.
Very nice.
So, yep. And that's pretty much it, man. That's what I got for you.
Well, that's a lot. That was a lot. I'm
yeah.
not gonna lie. That was a lot. Okay. Let's take away this presentation. Let's just kind of summarize what we've learned today. So, what did we learn? We learned that F#1 status is definitely back, and it's hardcore, and it's optimizing all the technology that is available right now. And from what we've seen in the timeline, F1 status came out at what I will call every pivotal, game-changing moment in signal quality. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
I think that's the way to summarize it.
Absolutely.
And having said that, this was a time for this change to happen again, because we have ultra high res, right?
Yep.
And your claim that Alpine F#1 status is the highest resolution car specific or vehicle specific sound system available in the market, I don't think that's a questionable. I think that's just a fact. So obviously, congratulations. If you happen to be a dealer that has customers looking for the absolute ultimate, well, you found it. This is it. You know what I mean? But take note, this is an all-in situation. It's not a la carte. The whole system designed to work with another. I thought. So I mean, that is what it is. My takeaway, I think, is the same what you said. Status. I think there's a lot of value in this status line. I think when dealers dig in and they see the pricing on it, they see the technology and the build quality on it, I think it's going to be very successful for Alpine. And Alpine's done a really good job kind of executing on the marketing side of things as well, coming up with the F#1 status first and then trickling it down. And I think all that has a great story. What I'd like to know is, from a system build standpoint, is there, in your opinion, and I know this, maybe not confirmed or whatnot, this a question that I had, I'm sure dealers are asking, how much further are we going to expand this, status line? Are we going to have maybe more options from a source unit standpoint? Are we going to have, I'd like to see where that goes. That's my comment.
We'll have to wait and see. That's all. I had to leave it there, unfortunately.
That's the best. Hey, I tried my best, guys.
But,
I'm digging here.
Yeah, but we're always open to feedback, and and you guys let us know what you think, and if you guys have any suggestions or ideas, let us know. We're always open and listening. So that's we learn a lot of what we make is from what people are requesting. So let us know.
And again, I can't say enough about that multi-channel DSP amplifier. I mean, again, go check out that video. We go in depth, super flexible, and system build perfect. It does anything you want it to do with a really nice GUI to boot. All right. For more information on anything that Dan has been going on about today when it comes to Alpine F1 status, make sure you check out their website. Alpine-USA.com is where you're going to find it. And then, of course, if you happen to be in Canada, get a hold of their Canadian distributors, Gentech International. That's where it's at. Dan, I can't thank you enough for coming in, man. You were the guy to come in and tell us all about it. This is very exciting news. And again, man, congratulations on the status launch. And hey, by the way, I want to remind our listeners, tune in tonight. We got CMA Live, Audiophiles Part 1, and Dan's certainly on the panel this evening. Thanks so much, Dan.
Yep. Thank you.
That's it. So, obviously, if you're geeking out like me on audiophile grade stuff, you want to keep it locked right here on CMA Networks for the rest of the month, because this month is all about the audiophile sessions. Check out this brand listing. You name it, high end, we got you covered each and every day at noon. We're covering all these great brands right up until November 10th. And if you're a technician or installer or a professional, you definitely want to take part in our contest we've got going on. We've partnered up with MasterTech Expo, 5-Axis Innovations, and SiriusXM that you could win a chance to get to MasterTech Expo on us. Everything included, flights, hotel, you name it. Register at cmanetworks.com/giveaway. Of course, when you're there, check out all the great videos that we've done with Alpine and even Dan. He's got his own profile on there, Dan Greenwood. Check it out. Thanks for keeping it locked here on CMA Networks for this CMA Connected, presented by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu. Until next time, we connect.
I mean, yeah, let's talk about
Stop
today.
it.
Today where I'm gonna go
Yo.
topics.
Roll it down.
I am.
You don't need a car to listen to Sirius XM. You can listen anywhere. You know that, right?
What? Kevin Hart's Laugh Out Loud Radio.
Kevin, you could use your phone.
What? What?
Alexa, play Kevin Hart's Laugh Out Loud Radio on Sirius XM.
What?
This is how I know you're getting old. I guess that was it.
What?